Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
Thrive Suite Productions. And welcome back to This Day in Sports History. It's January 3rd, and a couple of comebacks for you on this day. First, let's start with an epic night for Jimmy Butler back in 2016. Well, really it was more like an epic half. Butler's Chicago Bulls were on the road at Toronto, and were trailing by 12 at the break. Butler had a mere 2 points and a busted lip after a defensive scuffle in the first 24 when they stepped back on the court for the third quarter. Now, who knows what lit the fuse on Butler's rocket, but he went off. He was attacking the basket, getting a number of layups, adding and ones along the way, a couple of wing jumpers, and it started to look like this was going to be a special kind of night for him. He finished the third quarter with 21 points, but the Bulls were still down 6 to start the fourth. Jimmy was unrelenting, though. He kept attacking and kept scoring, but still with 35 seconds left, Chicago was down 2, and with the Toronto crowd on their feet screaming, "Defense! Defense!" Butler nailed a corner 3 to give the Bulls the lead and to give JB 39 points in the second half, which equaled Michael Jordan's franchise record 39 he scored in a game in February 1988. But Butler was fouled on the made 3. He went to the line to complete the 4-point play, and his 40 points not only gave his team a 2-point lead, but with 31 seconds to play, it also gave him the new franchise record for points and a half. Chicago held on to win 115-113. Butler finished with 42 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds. But after the game, he wanted nothing to do with comparisons to Jordan. Also on this day in 1992, it was the AFC divisional playoff game between Buffalo and Houston, and the Bills trailed 35-3 in the third quarter after Bubba McDowell picked off a Frank Reich pass and returned it for a touchdown. Things were looking bleak for the Bills, not only down 32, but also without future Hall of Fame quarterback Jim Kelly, who injured his knee early in the ball game. But Reich had actually been in this position before when he was in college at Maryland, leading the Terrapins back from a 31-point deficit against Miami in what was then the biggest comeback in college football history. A couple of touchdown passes to Andre Reed, and the Bills nearly erased the entire deficit in the third quarter, trailing 35-31 as they went to the fourth. A Reich to Reed 17-yard touchdown pass late in the game gave Buffalo their first lead. Houston tied it with a field goal to send it to overtime, and they actually won the toss and had the ball to start OT. Now, remember, back then, it was sudden death. First team who scores, no matter if it's a touchdown, a field goal, or whatever, game is over. But Warren Moon threw an interception, giving the ball back to Buffalo. Steve Christie nailed the game winner a few minutes later, and the Bills completed the greatest comeback in NFL playoff history. And in 1983, Tony Dorsett ripped off a 99-yard touchdown run against Minnesota to set the record for longest TD run in NFL history. That record stood alone for 35 years until Derrick Henry equaled it in 2018. That's all for today. If you have a moment, rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks for listening today, and I'll have more tomorrow on This Day in Sports History.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. we wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website, seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.